update coming in from Bengaluru. Let's get details of that. Breaking update from the IT capital of Bengaluru. Bommai government in Karnataka is left red-faced when its own party leader has in fact now raised the issue of bad roads in the state assembly. BJP MLA Aravind Limbavali flags lack of funds for Bengaluru infrastructure and lack of coordination among agencies. I'm joined over the phone line by Brijesh Kalappa of the Congress. He is in fact joining us live on the broadcast. Mr. Kalappa, what we can see here on Mirror Now, actually, we've been raising this issue consistently about poor roads and pothole menace specifically in multiple cities across the country, leading to deaths on the roads. And now we can see in Bengaluru, the Karnataka government's own MLA has in fact flagged this issue on the floor of the assembly.
See, Aravind Limbavali is not just another MLA. He is a former minister, a person of great experience, and someone who is, an extremely important leader within the BJP ecosystem. Now, when he has raised his arms in despair, saying that Bengaluru is in a hopeless situation, and particularly when the people of Bengaluru have invested their mandate in the BJP, when the BJP asked for a twin engine, that is the state government and the central government, the people of Bangalore not just gave them the state and central government, but also gave them the BBMP. Now the BJP has been in power in the BBMP, in the state assembly and in the center, and yet the roads are in such miserable condition and people are dying. In fact, on the same spot, 2 deaths have taken place in the matter of weeks in the exact same spot. And the chief minister has given repeated deadlines and said that he's going to improve the quality of the roads. But as you see, the roads are in miserable condition. And today, when a senior MLA of the BJP has raised this issue, then I think this is the final kind of final kind of showdown which we are all looking for. That the BJP itself is asking the question. And I think there is nowhere else that the party has to look at, but deep within itself, and say that we have failed the city, we have failed the state, and we have failed the people of Karnataka.
Right. In fact, what we have in fact seen is that there's always been a sort of casual attitude, even earlier when we had seen that there were incidents of deaths being reported on the roads of Bengaluru, multiple incidents coming back to back. At that time as well, the Karnataka government had in fact said that, it's raining. There were several excuses given at the time as well. And in this case, what we can see is now the situation is such that they are facing criticism from within their own party. But are you satisfied, sir, in terms of the efforts or the measures which you have seen the Karnataka government, even the latest dispensation, the Bommai government, actually taking in terms of improving the infrastructure on ground, at least with the sole purpose of saving lives?
Not at all, not at all. In fact, the roads are still in abysmal condition. And we still, in fact, even this morning I drove while cursing the civic authorities for the fact that the roads are pathetic. And I drive myself, therefore it's visible that there is absolutely no improvement in terms of the road infrastructure in the city. And it's only appropriate and only wholly justified that the BJP itself are up in arms against their own leadership for this abysmal failure of the establishment in providing good roads and a safe ride for people of Bengaluru city.
Right. In fact, what we can see, sir, that there is now this latest comment from Aravind Limbavali on the floor of the House, where he has in fact raised questions about the poor infrastructure. Do you think, but at the same time, questions are also being raised. First of all, of course, it's not just one city specific, but if we just talk about Bengaluru itself, it's not just about one particular government. This has been a menace and a problem which the city has faced over the years, whether it's this current government or under the Yediyurappa government or previous to that of the alliance government that we had of JDU and Congress. So there have been issues that Bengaluru residents have been talking about, and it's more glaring because otherwise this is known as the IT capital of the country. It is supposed to be forward-looking and have the latest in terms of the ease of living factor in the country. But what we can in fact see is that even basics like roads are not well maintained. It's not just about one government, sir.
No, so I agree that it's not about one government. For instance, when there was a coalition government or when Mr. Siddaramaiah was in power, you must remember that there was a different, regime at the center. And therefore, the people of Bengaluru decided that we are going to have a regime which is reflective of, what they wanted, the BJP wanted. They wanted a twin engine. The people gave them not just a twin engine, which is a state government, which is BJP, a central government, which is BJP, but also a BBMP administration, which was BJP. So there are three administrations which are held by the BJP, and all of them have failed. If there was, if we had something to complain, we had to complain that, look, the center was not giving us funds because smart city project and so on and so forth, JNNRUM, a large amount of money had to come from the center. So we were always complaining that, no, the center was not releasing these funds. Now, who can the BJP blame? When we were saying that, look, there were these problems with the center, then the BJP said, no, then you give us a government. You give us a state and you give us a center and you give us the BBMP. Now people have given them all that. It's been given to them on a platter, and still look at the kind of administration that they're handing out and the kind of maladministration they're meting out to the people. So I think it's something which is painful that insofar as being a citizen of Bengaluru, we have to face this on an everyday, kind of situation. And this is something which I think is beyond amelioration. I think the only way in which the people can finally find some relief if they throw the BJP out lock, stock and barrel.
Right, Brajesh Kalappa of the Congress there. Thank you so much for joining us on this discussion. I'm also joined by Ms. Brinda Adige, activist, who is joining us on this discussion. Ms. Adige, what we usually see is that there's, of course, a political war of words always on this time. Opposition will, fling accusations at the government. The government will, of course, say we have done this. But it's at the root of this entire thing. It's the people who are still suffering. There are lives being lost on the roads because of potholes. And now there's a situation where the Karnataka government's own MLA and somebody, as Brajesh Kalappa there was also pointing out, was a former minister. So it is a heavyweight, not somebody who is nobody, who is Mr. Aravind Limbavali is now raising this issue on the floor of the House, criticizing his own government.
See, it is all very fine criticizing the government, your own government or the opposition. And like you mentioned, at the end of the day, we the voters, the taxpayers, continue to suffer all of these lopsided decisions and the lack of coordination, the lack of convergence, and the lack of discipline. Because if you look at the various cases that keep coming up on a daily basis, and today it's not today that we are talking about roads and potholes. This has been on and on and on. Nobody is held accountable. And this is because there is a systematic and structural design to ensure that nobody is held accountable. Nobody can be disciplined. No law, no article of the law or clause of the law can be used against these people to hold them accountable. That is what is missing today. So we are talking about governance. We have elected people. We have the bureaucracy. But just see that nobody is taking responsibility. So they will not take responsibility. They will not be held accountable. They refuse to converge and coordinate together. And they refuse to tell how much was spent, where it was spent, and who is the fine. Where does the buck stop? Nowhere. They will argue all these things, but they will not talk about it.
So do you
that
think,
must change?
Yeah, do you think this is just lip service? The fact that he's raising this issue, is it just a populist move? Is it just lip service being paid, or is there, a real intention of the MLA saying that I'm a people's representative, so I'm raising this point, even if it's in a way criticizing my own government? So do you think that politicians are just doing their lip service and, just skimming on the surface when it comes to this very important issue which affects you and I on a daily basis?
Absolutely right. You hit the nail correctly. That is lip service. It is a facade this man is putting up for coming elections. And let us also remember that this is the first time he has raised this issue. So he says that I'll raise this issue and I'll tell all my people I raised the issue. We want to ask him how many of the other programs and implementations that you have been involved in where things have gone wrong and he has come up and set it right. None. So this is lip service, like you say. And this kind of lies and facades cannot be part of democracy.
Right, Ms. Brinda.
Unacceptable.
Right. Ms. Brinda Adige, their activist, joining us on this discussion. I'm also joined by my colleague Neha Hebale, who is standing by on this. Neha, what we had in fact been hearing was, of course, Brijesh Kalappa there talking about how the government has hardly made any effort. Brinda Adige saying that, you know, even if there is an MLA who's criticizing his own government, this is just lip service. But essentially on ground, you've been reporting on this issue for a long time now. Is there actually any change that you've seen, you know, despite the multiple incidents that we have reported on this year as well? Has there been any effort by the government in order to settle this or sort this issue to some extent?
Tanima, it's only when there's a death on bad roads in the city that the government wakes up or claims to wake up. And time and again, we've highlighted how the interdepartmental coordination is absolutely lacking. Be it the BBMP, the BWSSB, the BESCOM, or, you know, any of the agencies for that matter, there is zero coordination. This is what residents have been complaining about for the longest time now, that when one agency, in fact, you know, proposes, the other disposes. There is a road that's dug up. It's laid back temporarily. And then again, it's dug up in just a couple of months by another agency. Let's talk specifically about what Mr. Aravind Limbavali over here has said on the floor of the Assembly. He's gone on to very categorically state that, you know, a few thousand crores that have been allotted for the overhaul of roads in the city is clearly not enough. Now, Tanima, this is important because let's remind you that Aravind Limbavali's constituency over here that we're referring to, areas such as Whitefield, Mahadevpura, ITPL, the tech hub of the city itself, are the highest tax paying, and in fact they're seeing the worst of the roads today. And this in fact is not the first time that it's been highlighted. Let's remind you that there have been multiple protests by the people of his area, particularly from the Mahadevpura area, from Whitefield, from ITPL, from these areas also. There have been several protests by citizens, and he's in fact even approached them about this issue, but so far we've not seen anything concrete being done. Yes, funds are allotted every year for the repair of these roads, and despite that we see the same issue year after year, with officials complaining that it's monsoon time and hence roads cannot be fixed. And every year it's only during the monsoon that we see the work picking up but coming to a complete grinding halt, simply because in fact officials over here fail to run out of excuses.
Right. Neha, please stay with us. I'm also joined in the broadcast by Sandeep Anuradhan, a resident of Bengaluru, and it is the resident's voice actually which matters the most, frankly speaking, in this entire thing. Mr. Anuradhan, if you could just tell us, as a resident of Bengaluru, are you happy with the work that the government has done in terms of improving or bettering infrastructure on the ground as far as the roads are concerned? Because we are talking about an issue in which people are dying on the roads because of pothole menace.
Thank you for having me on the call. See, I am from Whitefield and I'm part of Mahadevpura constituency. And the only credit I'd like to give our MLA is he regularly every year holds a ward review. In about 1.5 months back, he held a ward review with all our ward officials. Right now, and then, when the ward review was held, 80% of our roads are in bad shape. 80% of our roads are dug up and filled with potholes. When I'm talking of Whitefield, which is one of the biggest taxpayers in our country, having 80% of our roads in bad shape, it is a really bad situation. And we raised this in the ward committee review, and all the officials were present. They were instructed to improve it, and he claimed that so many crores of funds have brought in and we will improve it. In the last 1.5-2 months they're reviewing, none of those roads have improved. But unnecessarily, there is a road project which is mentioned in 2015 RMP by accident because there is a lake where this road project was proposed. And right now the lake case is sub judice, and the affected parties of this road proposal have gone to court. They've got a stay order based on commitment by the BBMP that until all the land is acquired, we will not start the road project. last week they started clearing the lake buffer zone and related thing. This 80 feet road they want to build from Whitefield Main Road straight into this already congested roads inside, which are 10 feet road. Adha Street Road is a 10 feet road. Imagine an 80 feet road coming and landing on a 10 feet road. Is that desirable? I mean, even a school child will laugh at it. They will say, what kind of a proposal is this? Now, they have got funds to build a road which is not sanctioned by law, which has multiple legal challenges, and spend money on it because some vested interest builder wants it. At the same time, they can't spend those funds on all the 80% of other roads which need to be improved, maintained. What kind of prioritizing is this? We only want our existing roads. There's a very good network in Whitefield. All those roads, please make them motorable. Please maintain them. Please put street lights. None of these roads have street lights. And then they become, antisocial havens. So why do you want to spend money on a road which nobody wants? None of the residents here want. We have protested twice. We held 2 public protests with 5,000 people showing up, and it was all over media. Your channel covered it. And we have objected to this road formation in 2018 and 2019, 2017 and 2018. Now, why are they suddenly again putting pressure on BBMP to build this road? And the BBMP officers are all lying about this. They say, no, there is no court stay order. They say that we have sanctioned. They say we can build on buffer zone. All the laws say that you cannot touch lake buffer zone. In October, there was an order that was issued by the government asking for violations on buffer zone to be demolished. So does the BBMP road department want to build a road that will be further demolished by the lake department? It is so stupid. Why can't they talk to each other?
Right.
And in the ward committee also, the lake officials specifically asked 2 days back for the road construction to stop.
Right.
Because the lake has to be surveyed, the borders have to be established. And the lake officials clearly said, don't carry out this project. But the major roads department want to push ahead under pressure from some ex-minister.
Right. So
This
the
is
civic
ridiculous.
agencies on ground clearly not listening to the residents over there when it comes to this issue. Mr. Sandeep Anuradhan, thank you so much for joining us in this discussion.